And we appreciate it. That way it doesn't interrupt the meeting. Also, if we could hold any conversations to outside in the lobby, that would be great too. We'd appreciate it. So with that being said, this morning we have Pastor Rob Smith from Bayside Community Church, the North River campus. Good morning, sir. And doing our pledge this morning, we County Commissioner, District 5, Ray Turner. If we all could rise, please.
Well, Lord God, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to come together on behalf of our community. God, we pray for wisdom over the decisions that are made today. And God, would you please honor each and every person that's in this room serving their community. May you be honored and blessed by what you see. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. We appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. What I do now before we go into announcements or anything, since I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to speak today, I'm going to go ahead and have the clerk swear everyone in. If you even think you're going to speak today, please stand and be sworn in. If you come up and say, I haven't been sworn in, we're going to stare at you and point fingers at you. So please be sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations you're about to make to the Board of County Commissioners are truthful and accurate?
I do.
Thank you. When you step to the podium, please state your name, if you have been sworn, and your county of residence.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, everyone. It'll take us a lot of time. Ms. Knapp, is there any updates to the agenda?
Good morning, Commissioners. All changes have been incorporated into the online website except for some additional public comment that was received after the last update, and those will be entered into the record during those items.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. Before I go into citizens' comment, we know there was an issue with the sign-in system this morning to be able to speak. So if you want to speak, just please come forward, and as the clerk said, please state your name, county residence, and you have been sworn. Right now, we go into it's called citizens' comment on future agenda items. This is an item that would not be on today's agenda. So if you're here to speak about today's agenda, do not speak on future, don't speak during public comment. So what I do is if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on a future agenda item, please come forward and state your name, county of residence, and that you have, well, you don't have to be sworn for this, but name and county of residence. Thank you, sir. Please come forward.
All right, Thomas Carter, Manatee County. All right, Mr. Commissioner, this is on project number 6105160. Over 250 residents of Manatee County want to stop this project. Environmental factors, when the alignment of the highway, you have to take in the environmental factors. Creekwood Master Association, it was going to cut down about 200 trees, bushes, and hedges. The fence on Creekwood Boulevard will be removed. The Carter Parcel 102 will cut down a vast number of trees, bushes, and hedges. Our pond will be taken and cause flooding on nearby residents who share the pond. Wildlife will be forced to go elsewhere. Across the street is the shopping center, Parcel 103. They want to cut down a vast number of trees, bushes, and hedges. Crashes and traffic. There is no vast number of crashes to justify the destruction of the environment. This has been confirmed by Manatee County Sheriff and the Florida State Police. There's no vast number of traffic to justify the destruction of the environment, confirmed by the Manatee County Public Works, the Manatee County Sheriff, and Florida State Police. Manatee County documents. Seasonal and peak traffic, not daily and hourly traffic, just seasonal and peak. Manatee County Public Works has not completed an economic impact report. Manatee Public Works has not completed a traffic plan that businesses have to complete, and Manatee County maintains a copy. Vehicles leaving 52nd Place East will have to make a right turn, either make a U-turn or go into Terra and do a U-turn, come back on Creekwood Boulevard just to enter the shopping center. Roundabout causes crashes. It is the well-known fact that many counties, Sarasota, many U.S. cities are now removing roundabouts because of the vast number of crashes they cause. Many countries in Europe are also removing roundabouts because of the vast number of crashes. Roundabouts cause accidents and do not solve the problem they're trying to fix. The roundabout, if you do this project, the roundabout will cause more crashes at 73rd than you have at 52nd Place East. Closing, there is no traffic, no crashes, no safety issue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Captain. Appreciate your comments. If you can leave whatever you have with the clerk, we'd appreciate it. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
My name is Steve Zaris. I'm a 23-year resident of Creekwood, so I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Captain Tom has said.
Sorry, sir, could you please repeat your name?
Steve Zaris. That's okay.
And yeah, 3 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I've lived there for quite some time, long before the Creekwood Boulevard extension, before the Cortez Road extension. So I've been there for quite some time. And I think there's other options we should explore. I don't agree with the circle, even though I know we need to do something. So I appreciate the efforts, but I think we need to explore some other options, especially with the traffic for the plaza, which is only one entrance on State Road 70 and one entrance on Creekwood Boulevard. And now we want to bring all that traffic into Creekwood, the Creekwood community, to try and make things better when you're going to make it worse. So I'm not saying my solutions are right. I'm just saying other solutions need to be explored. I don't know who we need to talk to about that, but I would like to request that we put this on hold until we can do the right thing. Having people go to State Road 70 and make a U-turn doesn't make sense. When the representative from the county came to our board meeting, he said we need to go down 70 and make a U-turn. We're talking about possibly going to Terra and making a U-turn, so we're diverting a lot of traffic, which is going to cause more problems. So that's all I want to say. As a resident from Creekwood, I plan on staying there for quite some time. I'm not planning on moving, so whatever you do, it means a lot to me and my family. And I appreciate every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would come forward to speak on a future agenda item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close citizens' comment on future agenda items. Next up is citizens' comment on consent items only. We have a consent agenda on our agenda, and someone could speak that? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll go ahead and close public comment on consent agenda items. Are there any of the board members like to remove anything from consent? Seeing none, let's see. Thank you. I'd like to call for an approval of the consent agenda. And it carries. Commissioner Bridge. Okay. The consent agenda carries 6-0.
I'm sorry, could you please state who made the motion and seconded?
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Ballard made the motion, Commissioner Bearden seconded.
Thank you.
And the vote carried 6-0. Okay, moving on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into presentation scheduled, and I'm going to ask Ms. Knapp to go ahead and read the first item into the record.
Item number 3, PDR 2352ZP, Lorraine Crossings West. A rezone of approximately 9.64 acres from A, General Agricultural, to PDR, Planned Development Residential Zoning District, generally located west of Lorraine Road and south of State Road 64, and approving a preliminary site plan for 66 single-family attached units with at least 25% of the units designated as affordable housing, subject to a proposed land use restriction agreement. And your staff presenter is Ms. Laura Gonzalez.
All right, thank you, ma'am. What we want to do is make a note that this is kind of out of order. Normally, we usually have, but these are 3 items that are coming up, are all for workforce housing or affordable housing. So we brought them forward first to get through those, and then we'll go into presentations upon request after these are done. So thank you, Ms. Knapp. Who's up for the applicant?
Good morning, Margaret Tusing with CNS Engineering, and I am a resident of Manatee County, and I have been sworn.
Or can you hold on for a second? Is there
Yes.
been any ex parte? All right, thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. This project is Lorraine Crossings West. It's a rezone from A to PDR. It's located at 3518 Lorraine Road. With me today is our team. The applicant is Herb Lawson with Wyndham Development Corporation, and our consultant team consists of Nathan Crott and Paige Estegaribia with ZNS Engineering, Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, Tommy Lide with ECT, and Scott Rudisell with Blaylock Walters. Oh. The slide's a little off kilter, but this is our general location. We are located west of Lorraine Road, south of State Road 64, and north of 44th Avenue. As we said, our request is to rezone this 9.64-acre site from A to PDR. There are 66 single-family attached residential units proposed. 25% of those will be for affordable housing, which is the equivalent of 17 units. Access is from Lorraine Road, and we are providing the required right-of-way for the roadway improvements. And there are no specific approvals requested with this application. This shows the zoning within the area, or the future land use, which is primarily UF3. The red is where we are located, and then there is some Res 1 and then MUC to the east. This is our zoning, which will become PDR, which is similar to the zonings to the north, which is the Savannah project, and to the east is Estancia node. And then here's other nearby projects. As you can see, there's a lot of red. These are all the projects that have been approved, or pink, that projects have been approved recently. So we feel that we are within an area that is certainly developing. This is our site plan. As you can see, we have the lots shown, and there is like 9 dwelling units per acre is what is allowed when we do affordable housing in the UF3 future land use category. Our density will be 6.85. The number of units is 66, and the buildings consist of 9 buildings between 6 and 8 units each. We are also providing sidewalks on both sides of the street and along Lorraine Road when the improvements happen. And we also have an inter-neighborhood tie to the project to the property to the south. After our neighborhood meeting, which was conducted in March, and approximately 6 residents were on the call, the team's meeting, their concerns were to try to do a little bit more screening, buffering to the Savannah project to the north. So what you see here is each of the lots will now have a 6-foot PVC fence at the rear. This is at the rear of the lot line, not the property line. And then the green area shows that this will be enhanced buffer. The green belt buffer that is required is 1 tree every 30 feet on center. The applicant has committed and stipulated that we will do enhanced, we will have hedges in addition to that, both on the north side and the south side. As you can see, the west is primarily the wetland and the ponds, and there's a tree growth on the Savannah property side. In addition, at the Planning Commission meeting, there was some discussion about providing a little bit more, either a tot lot or some kind of a community open space, which right now the project has not been engineered, so we are looking at, we are committed to doing that, but don't know exactly what it is we can do, because the ponds, we give our best estimate as to what size we need, but many times when you get in the field, things change. So we are committed to doing an additional option. The wetland is serving as our neighborhood focal point. So that's the end of my presentation, and we respectfully request your approval of this project.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions for the applicant from the board? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, you're up.
Good morning. This is Laura Gonzalez with Development Services Department, and I have been sworn. I agree with the applicant presentation, and I prepared a slide that summarizes the main results of the presented in the staff report. So this proposal is consistent with the existing development pattern in the area, that is agricultural land that is transitioning to planned development, and is a logical expansion of the nearby developments. The proposed density, that is 6.85 dwelling units per acre, is within the maximum allowed in the UF3 future land use category for affordable housing projects. The proposed use, that is single-family attached, is a permitted use in the planned development residential zoning district and is compatible with the surrounding uses. The proposal meets the standard of the Land Development Code, and the proposed buffer, landscaping, and setbacks provides the separation from the adjacent uses. The site is in an area where services, utilities, and schools will be available for the future residents, and the site is impacted by the capital improvement project for the expansion of Lorraine Road, and the project has provided the required land for this improvement. The applicant received the affordable housing certificate, and if the rezone is approved, the next step is a request for a LURA for the approval for this board. So with the proposed stipulations, we find the request to be consistent with the policy of the comprehensive plan and the standard of the Land Development Code, and compliance with all of these requirements and standards will be reviewed in detail at time of the preliminary final site plan application.
All right.
This is my presentation. Any
All right.
question?
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any questions of staff? All right, thank you. What we'll do right now is open this item up for public comment. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to come forward and give public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Are there any other questions? It looks like there's none.
I have a
Yes, sir.
comment. I have a comment, but not a question.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I love this. I know people have been talking about, but look, we need different levels of housing everywhere, and I hear a lot in Lakewood Ranch about the restaurateurs, the businesses out there. Their employees just can't live out in Lakewood Ranch. I mean, we're finding ways of putting more affordable workforce housing all over this county, but there's kind of a donut hole where we have a lot of employment base there, and people are having a hard time getting there. It's tying up our roads. I love this project. I hope we see more projects along these lines. It's not even building to its fullest density allowable. It's being thoughtful in how it's laid out. I hope we see more of this, and I fully support this.
Thank you, sir. All right. Staff, anything else? Applicant, anything else? You're good? Yes, sir. All right, thank you. There's been a motion made by Commissioner Van Ossenbridge, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Can everyone cast their votes now? I did ask for public comment already. Yes, ma'am. All right. The motion carries 5-1 with Commissioner Bearden as a no vote. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Wait till they get out. All right, the next two items, we're going to open these items as one item, and then we're going to vote separately on each item as we go through those items. So, Ms. Knapp, could you read both 4 and 5 into the record for us?
Yes, item number 4 is PA 2324, ordinance 2408, Villas at Elwood Park, small-scale comprehensive plan map and text amendment. So this is a privately initiated small-scale map and text amendment to the future land use element to designate real property generally located at the northeast corner of 44th Avenue East and 45th Street East from Res 1 dwelling unit to the acre and Residential 3 dwelling units to the acre to Res 3 dwelling units to the acre and Res 6 dwelling units to the acre, totaling 23.8 acres, providing a specific area policy in the text of element 2. Policy 2.14.1.25, known as a D5 provision, regardless of any established land use restriction matrix or density bonuses, the project shall be limited to a maximum density of 8.5 dwelling units per acre and shall be developed for residential uses only. Furthermore, the applicant shall enter into a land use restriction agreement regarding the provisions of affordable housing. And item number 5 is PDR 2353, again, Villas of Elwood Park. It's a rezone of 23.8 acres, generally located at the same site, northeast corner of 44th Avenue East and 45th 5th Street East intersection from A1 agricultural suburban to planned development residential, approving a general development plan for 202 multifamily residential units, providing for a land use restriction agreement as proffered by the applicant for at least 25% of the units to be designated as affordable housing.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any ex parte on this issue? On either one? All right. Thank you very much. Applicant, you're up. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Scott Rudisill. I'm attorney at Blaylock Walters. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Eastwind Development, today. So I'm here on the Villas at Elwood Park project. I'm sure you all remember we were before you several months ago. This project has been changed significantly since then, and so I'm going to turn it over to Philip here in a second. He's going to go into all of the details of the changes that have been made. But first, I want to introduce our project team here. We have Stephen Novacki is here with Eastwind Development. Philip DiMaria, an AICP planner with Kimley Horn, is our project planner. Christopher Hatton and James Taylor are the traffic engineers on the project. Trenton Strackbine is our civil engineer. Danielle Stewart, another AICP planner, Kimley Horn, is here. And then Daniel Corkum and Dylan Reeves are the environmental consultants. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Philip, and then he's going to make his presentation, and then we'll all be available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Commissioners. Just briefly on a brief overview of, absolutely. My name is Philip DiMaria. I'm a certified planner with Kimley Horn, a resident of Sarasota County.
And you have been sworn. Thank you.
Thank you. Brief overview. I know Scott mentioned we've been before you prior, but I'll take a few minutes just to go over some of the site information. So the current future land use of the site is Res 1 and Res 3. Our proposal is a modification to the future land use map amendment to Res 3 and Res 6. With that future land use map amendment, we'll be asking for rezoning from A1 to PDR, Planned Development Residential. It's the current future land use and current zoning. I'll call your attention to the intersection of 44th Avenue and 45th Street, creating the activity node, as well as there being higher densities allowed along 45th Street running north-south. If you also look at the future land use map, there's Res 6 in the southwest corner of the intersection, as well as Res 3 in the southeast quadrant of the intersection. Current zoning, as stated previously, the A1 zoning is largely located to the north of 44th Avenue, but of course the new roadway serves as the change in circumstances that's creating a lot of the land use changes along the corridor. The proposal is for Res 6, focused on the southern two-thirds of the property, concentrating density to the southern portion of it, and then Res 3 tapering down lower densities as we move north, closer to the heart of Elwood Park. The proposed zoning is PDR, of course. Where the site is immediately adjacent to single family, only one step up in land use is proposed. The entire site is in an activity node, just as a reminder, and then Res 6 is the highest proposed land use, and that also exists to the southwest of the site. A brief overview of all the changes that have occurred since this was previously before you. So the prior application, the townhomes at Westbridge, incorporated a variety of things, including mixed use with 20,000 square feet of commercial. That's since been eliminated. This is a residential project only. There were 260 gross PM trips recorded as part of that traffic study. That's been reduced by 50% with the removal of the commercial, as well as a reduction in dwelling units. So we're looking at 130 gross PM peak hour project trips. The 10% affordable has been increased to 25% affordable, which is significant. We achieved a livable manatee designation through Rowena's department. The 15-foot green belt buffer and 15-foot residential setback along the northern property line associated with the previous project has been increased significantly. The 15-foot green belt buffer continues to exist, but a 65-foot significant residential setback will exist along that northern property line. The 20-foot residential setback along the western property line has been increased by 70 feet to a 90-foot residential setback along the western property line. And of course, the comprehensive plan change has occurred. There's also a D5 provision included that further limits the density. And we've changed access to the site, which we think is important as it relates to intrusion of trips potentially into Elwood Park. Our traffic study has shown that only 3% of project trips will go on to 45th Street, turn north on 45th Street. All of the trips are directed onto 44th through a one left in, right out access only onto 44th. There will be an emergency access onto 45th that serve as that second means of egress for safety. As stated, we received this housing certificate from Rowena Young Gopi's department as it relates to our proposal for 25% attainable housing through a LURA agreement. Of course, you all are familiar with this, but the Workforce Housing Incorporated will be subject to a restriction on 25% of those units from 81% to 120% of area median income for a minimum of 20 years. And that allows us to increase the density within this activity node above 6 units per acre with the proposal. We will be limiting it to 8.5 dwelling units per acre, which we think is important here as we consider compatibility. I'll walk through the GDP as part of the rezone. 202 units are proposed, which of course is reduced from the previous proposal. Those will be incorporated into garden flats that are 2 stories, maximum height, 35 feet in maximum height, to once again increase the compatibility. This is a 23.8 acre project. You'll notice that we've included some of the necessary elements like stormwater closer to the northern reaches of the site to ensure that additional compatibility is achieved with the lower density residential land uses to the north. And we'll incorporate a community focal point with amenities such as a clubhouse, fitness center, swimming pool, all those kind of Class A products that'll be available for all residents regardless of area, median income, or rents. This is the proposed general development plan. We're committed. One of the new things before you today became apparent during the Planning Commission hearing that maybe some additional stipulations would be required as far as designating some of these stormwater ponds and ensuring that those are locked in and are carried through to final site plan. So we're happy to mention that another provision was included as stipulating that that pond in the northwest corner exists in place, and that allows for there to be once again reduced number of units in that northwest portion, which seems to be a focal area for potential compatibility. We've performed a significant amount of neighborhood outreach in the time since our last application. Stephen Novacki, our applicant, has met with community members over the course of the last few months and prior, and have had several meetings at neighbors' homes, and we're proud of this community outreach. We think it's unprecedented for certain projects in the area. And that led to a lot of the changes that were made from the previous proposal to the one in front of you today. Once again, voluntary limiting building height to 2 stories, enhancing those green belt buffers. We're including fencing on the western property line, 6-foot decorative aluminum fence with a ligustrum hedge for landscape screening, reducing, once again, just kind of visual impacts of the development. And then on the northern property line, a 6-foot opaque privacy fence. We have pictures, so I'll show you those here in a bit, just to show what those would look like in practice. That 2-acre pond in the northwest portion I mentioned. Additionally, that'll serve some benefit to community flooding. That seemed to be a concern that was brought up in the last hearing. You may remember, but there was community flooding concerns along 45th Street, just it being an older roadway. So we're excited about that providing some additional public benefit. And of course, installation of sidewalks along 45th Street that'll act as a nice entrance to the neighborhood and provide some neighborhood connectivity for pedestrians and bicyclists who want to access the amazing public infrastructure improvements along 44th Avenue. These are the graphics showcasing those greenbelt buffers and the fencing that would occur. So this is on the northern property line. We're dedicated to providing a double the amount of canopy trees required by code and providing that fence on the northern portion to once again just increase that visual screening. This is in addition to that 65-foot building setback to really create just a large amount of separation and screening between neighboring land uses. This is on the western buffer. This is the ligustrum hedge along with the decorative aluminum fencing. The east buffer, you'll notice a specific approval request inside your report, and maybe Charles will go over that in more detail, but effectively there's already an unimproved right-of-way on our eastern boundary, and this provides additional screening and buffering to that right-of-way. So really we're surrounded on all sides by really dense vegetation that'll act as screening. I don't by any means want to spend too much time on this project or on this slide, but I think one thing that is important to note is the anticipated project completion. So 44th Avenue is scheduled to be completed in 2026. Our project was scheduled to be completed in 2027, so full connectivity of that roadway will exist prior to our project being completed. So we're here in front of you today for a land use approval, but of course, development of the site will occur over time and will be in concert with the infrastructure improvements made. As with any future land use map amendment or rezoning, a full comprehensive plan consistency review was incorporated. We were found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Your staff, your professional staff, Charles Andrews did a wonderful job also performing this consistency review, and we were found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Some key takeaways and conclusions. This fulfills, of course, the key goals and objectives, providing a mix of residential land uses, reducing the amount of urban sprawl that occurs in the county by providing some infill development here. This is a reasonable transition, is compatible and consistent with the current development patterns and what is prescribed within the activity nodes. This is an infill opportunity. It provides public benefit to Manatee County via affordable housing through the LURA and the 20-year commitment associated with it, 25%. About 50 units will be provided with that attainable housing restriction, which we think is important. It provides the community benefit to Elwood Park specifically through the incorporation of these enhanced buffers and landscaping, the stormwater management facilities I mentioned earlier. We've changed the name to reflect the important historic character of Elwood Park as well. And we've had those additional conversations with the community where we were able to gain that influence and input from them. We're locating this where the county is investing in infrastructure and providing a return on investment for that infrastructure placement. And we can't stress that enough as it relates to smart urban planning and smart growth. As Scott said, we're here to answer any questions you may have, but we're here in front of you today kindly requesting your approval of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions from the board? I don't see anybody on the board. All right, thank you, sir. Charles?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Charles Andrews with staff. I have been sworn, so I have two presentations here. The first is the comprehensive plan map and text amendment. So the previous request that was heard before the board, this was back, it was going from Res 1 and Res 3 to Res 6, and that was on 24.6 acres, and that was heard by the board or at the board on August 24th, 2023. Planning Commission was August 10th. So what's changed? So the removal of property, essentially 1 acre on that western portion, kind of the southwest corner, has been removed. It's outlined in black. Kind of the shifting here of going, instead of the entire site going to Res 6, we have the northern strip there in blue going to Res 3, and then the southern part there in green going to Res 6. Applicants offered up a specific area policy, also known as a D5 provision, regarding maximum entitlements, use types, and affordable housing provision. The property is located at the northeast corner of 45th Street East and 44th Avenue East, or Cortez Road extension, on 23.8 acres. We are going from Res 1 and Res 3 to Res 3 and Res 6. There is a specific area policy, as mentioned before. The key takeaways here are kind of outlined here. Maximum density of 8.5 dwelling units per acre, developed for residential uses only, and then a land use restriction agreement regarding the provision for affordable housing units. Here's an outline of the Res 1 and the Res 3 uses there, looking low-density suburban residential, short-term agricultural for Res 1, and then support uses regarding neighborhood commercial, public, semi-public, recreation, and schools. So the proposed Res 3 and Res 6, the focus I want to have is on the Res 6 part there, looking at the medium-density urban residential and clustered development, has the support uses mentioned, neighborhood commercial, office, your public, semi-public, recreation, and schools. So here's a future land use map of what it is today, the Res 1 and the Res 3. Proposed is, like I said, the Res 3 is on the top there, and the Res 6 is on the bottom, fronting 44th Avenue East. The site is located within an activity node. That's essentially what the A2 provision there, or the policy of the land use operative provision, speaks to. It's within that 1,500-foot buffer, or the activity node, excuse me. The density here, I've got the gross density laid out here for the Res 1. And then the Res 3, let's see here. So we have the Res 3 and the Res 6 breakdown there. So the Res 6 could essentially go to 12 dwelling units per gross acre if it was mixed-use development at activity nodes, or 25% as affordable housing. As stated, the D5 provision would limit the maximum density to 8.5. The zoning is A1, agricultural suburban. The history on the site, since '89, the property has been designated as Res 1 and Res 3, and a zoning designation of A1 since 1990. Surrounding development here, the historic Elwood Park surrounds the property. We have Fairfax to the south, and Sable Harbor as well. The schools, we have Samoset Elementary, Braden River Middle, and Braden River High. Transit is 2.17 miles located southwest of the site. And then several parks are within the area: John H. Marble, Braden River Park, and Creekwood Park. So positive aspects of the request. So the request to Res 3 and Res 6 serves as a logical transition, looking at the emerging development pattern trends south of the subject property as the county goes from a low moderate density to residential to a medium high density and mixed use development. In efforts to address compatibility concerns that were raised before, the applicant has proposed a specific area policy for development to limit maximum density to 8.5 dwelling units per acre, allocate a minimum of 25% of the proposed dwelling units to be utilized as affordable housing, and to restrict the development to residential uses only. Several more positive aspects include that the property is located at an activity node, which is 45th Street East and 44th Avenue East extension, which permit an increase in residential and non-residential entitlements, thereby encouraging the development of new commercial uses as infill development and discouraging the expansion of existing areas not meeting commercial locational criteria. The site is also located west of and within the future development area boundary, where development is encouraged and public utilities are available. Negative aspects include that the requested Res 6 allows for an increase in residential density and intensity, which is only currently located adjacent and southwest of the site, and has the potential of generating adverse impacts to surrounding development or surrounding properties which have been designated as Res 1 and Res 3 historically. Mitigating factors include a detailed analysis of capacity and impacts on public facilities will be required at the time of future development of the site, which will be touched on in the rezoning discussion here shortly. Any future development of the site would comply or shall comply with the Land Development Code regarding setbacks, buffers, etc., and Policy 2.1.2.7 of the Comprehensive Plan. Next up, adequate buffering landscaping design should provide a transition between the future development of the site and adjacent agricultural and residential areas. So in conclusion, the request meets the applicable policies of the Comprehensive Plan and the Land Development Code. And the request here is for approval, of Plan Development PA 2324. Jenny, I'm going to slide into the rezoning. Thank you. Presentation. Okay, so this is for the rezoning companion for villas at Elwood Park. Same site, 23.8 acres. The request is to rezone with a GDP, General Development Plan approval. It's a rezone of approximately 23.8 acres from A1 to PDR, Plan Development Residential, for the development of 202 multifamily townhome residential units. It is for GDP approval. It has two specific approvals, and it has a land use restriction agreement for affordable housing. That's part of the stipulations of approval. Zoning's A1. Future land use as discussed, Res 1 and Res 3, which has the companion comp plan amendment to Res 3 and Res 6. Surrounding development, Elwood Park, as stated before, Fairfax and Sable Harbor to the south and southwest. So the GDP here shown has a 15-foot greenbelt buffer on the north, and then on the east, we'll get to that one in a minute, it's a 10-foot roadway buffer. And then we have the 15-foot on the west, 20 roadway buffer on the south, and then on the western portion there, or northwest portion rather, for 20 foot as well. So specific approvals. The first one is to Land Development Code 402.7.d.1, and this states, a buffer of a minimum of 20 feet wide shall be provided along district boundaries which abut and run parallel to any public road in the PDR district. An existing unimproved 30-foot right-of-way abuts the project along the eastern property boundary. Let me go back real quick. So along that eastern property boundary outlined in gray is what we're discussing here. So that unimproved 30-foot right-of-way abuts the project along that eastern property boundary where a 20-foot roadway buffer is required. So as a result, the applicant's requesting a 10-foot reduction to the roadway buffer, resulting in a 10-foot roadway buffer on that project's eastern property boundary. The second specific approval is to LDC section 1001.1.c, which states, all residential developments or parts of phases thereof containing more than 100 residential dwelling units, shall have a second separate means of access to a street. So the applicant is requesting that the secondary means of access on 45th Street East be limited to emergency access only. So the GDP shows the primary means of access onto 44th Avenue East, located adjacent and south of the development. So those are the two specific approvals. Same public facilities that we discussed, and the transit's 2.17 miles southwest of the site, and the same parks that we discussed in the comp plan presentation. The positive aspects, proposed revisions made to the GDP and overall request seek to address the concerns raised by the public at the previous board hearing, reduction in the overall density of the project, increased building setbacks, enhanced greenbelt buffers and landscaping. In addition to the reduction in total density permitted for the development, the project's proposing a land use restriction agreement to provide for a minimum of 25% affordable housing and limiting the uses to residential only via the D5 provision in the comprehensive map amendment, which is concurrent with this. The subject property is proposing to designate a portion as affordable housing. Some more positive aspects. The project's located west of the FDAB, future development area boundary, where development's encouraged, public facilities are available. The project will provide sidewalks along the project frontage along 44th Avenue East and 45th Street East. The proposed multifamily component of the project will have a maximum building height of 2 stories, or up to 3 stories could be permitted for planned residential development. Some negative aspects, a specific approval request being proposed along the eastern perimeter boundary going from 20 to 10 feet. The other specific approval is proposing to limit the secondary means of vehicular access to 45th Street for emergency access only. And the project does not have immediate wastewater services available. Mitigating factors, the applicant will provide 4 canopy trees for every 100 linear feet within the reduced 10-foot roadway buffer along the eastern project perimeter boundary. The plant schedule for the reduced buffer, which exceeds the minimum requirement of materials for the 20-foot buffer. The restriction of the secondary means of vehicular access only to 45th Street seeks to reduce traffic to an established lower density residential neighborhood, Elwood Park, adjacent and to the north around the site. The developer will connect the proposed development to the nearest county lift station for wastewater services. So there are several CIPs or capital improvement projects planned within the continued expansion and improvement to 44th Avenue East. So in conclusion, the request meets the applicable policies of the comprehensive plan and the land development code. I'm here if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cruz is on the board.
Hi, sir.
I was going to wait, talk about this later, but you actually put a sentence that caught my eye in your staff report in your presentation, so I'll ask you your thoughts on it and understanding where they might say. In the staff report and in your presentation, at least in the first part of it, you said one of the positive aspects of this is it's a logical transition given the development trends south of the subject property. So we see that in almost every staff report. It seems like everything's a logical transition. If we use the term transitions as different, but that's not necessarily a benefit, it's just different. So my question is this a logical transition based on our usual definition? I mean, State Road 70 was there, right? And the argument is, oh, catty corner of this is an R6. So you have State Road 70, a major road, and it's all R6. Now you're hitting this property. North of this property is R1, ag, things like that. Isn't transition supposed to be like this? Isn't it supposed to be like, here's rural, single-family home, duplexes, small apartment? That's in my mind, at least, and that's why I'm asking your thoughts. That's transition. It seems almost like the way we're using the word here, you're intending to transition higher, which concerns me, because what that means is you're going from R3 to R6 across the street to now 8.5. You're basically setting the stage that the next proposal is R12. And the next one, that's R20, because that's how transition works. You seem like you're trying to transition higher density north of State Road 70 as a result of this. So I'm trying to understand how the word transition works, because in my mind, State Road 70 is the real road. Yes, we're building 44th, but you see this all over the country. Some municipality drops a road in there. It breaks up a community. We had that in Palmetto way back in the day. And then we say, well, the road's there. We might as well do it. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, we still protect Cortez, even though we put a road there. We still protect Terracea after the interstate went there. There's some level of protection. So I'm trying to understand where you believe our definition of transition is going for the future of this area, because my mind is we went from R6. Now, the logical transition would be the R3 that they're effectively allowed, and then transitioning into the R1 where it's existing. That's how transition works. We seem to be altering that entirely and flipping it on its head and going the other direction. So how is this a logical transition going higher than what's next to it if the very next step is substantially lower? It seems like it's a cliff.
Okay. Great question, Commissioner. So at the intersection here, oh, can I go back? There you go. We'll go, okay. Well, maybe I got do I have a zoomed out one? Maybe I don't. Okay. So on the existing future land use map that I have shown here, so, let me go to the proposed. So, perfect. So to the south there, we have Fairfax and those folks, and that has gone on from, the 80s and 90s, going from 70, like you said, going north up to this intersection. And before the county made the improvements, we have those two roadways, but we've created a node. So there's several things at play here. So the node, which encourages that increase, is kind of pivoted right there, at that intersection, which creates and incentivizes higher density and intensity. And if you look, we've got, so the Res 1 to the north of this site and the Res 3, it kind of tapers down from the Res 1 to the Res 3 to the Res 6, where you're trying to encourage at that activity node those higher densities.
But you're not. You're going from R1, R3 to R8.5 back to R6. That's not transition. That's a peak. You're basically saying, because we created this node arbitrarily in an otherwise rural area that's currently zone ag, we've effectively allowed this to peak up like a pyramid surrounding this node. But the reality is, as soon as that gets approved, wouldn't your next staff report for the project immediately to north of it say that this is compatible with the surrounding area based on recent approvals of an R8.5, and that the R12 is transitional? It's going with the transition of previously approved development. Aren't we just setting the stage for that, really? That's why I'm confused. Like, usually it goes from low density to high density or vice versa in transition. This seems like we're going from low to higher and then back down again, unless our intention is to continue that transition and basically assuming State Road 64 is the ceiling, and we're just going to keep peaking up from 70 to 64. That's how I interpret that word.
So, like I was saying,
I mean, we're not required. You said it encourages development on nodes, but we create nodes all over the place. We're creating nodes out east of the FDAB right now because we're extending rangeland, we're extending 44th. That's going to go on the other side. That's not necessarily encouraging development. That's creating a node. Hard stop. That's what it's doing. It doesn't mean that we have to approve zoning there. So I'm just, again, this is not. I'm just trying to get in your mind to understand, because you put this as one of like your three positive aspects. It's transitional. I'm just trying to understand that for the rest of this conversation.
So in the comprehensive plan, we have the nodes that we talk about, commercial locational criteria, and we talk about incentivizing those corridors, or not the corridors, but the activity nodes rather, that increase the density and intensity. So trying to limit those expansions of higher density and intensity to those nodes within, for example, in my comp plan presentation regarding the 1,500-foot activity node, where you have that Right, what you're looking at, you have the 815, but this would be a 1,500-foot activity node. So anything to the north, Commissioner, would be outside of that, and it's something that staff would look at differently if you're talking having the ceiling and going further north along 45th Street East to State Road 64. So
Okay.
at that node, that kind of going up at the node and then going back down.
Fair enough. This isn't deliberation. You answered my question. I appreciate it. You gave an explanation on why you said that, and I appreciate the answer.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Are there other questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
What we'd like to do right now is we're going to open up to public comment. The public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. When you come forward, please state your name, the county residence, and that you have been sworn. And being that we had a problem with the sign-in for speakers, if the first person wants to come up and people want to line up behind them, that'd be great. Or take a seat up front to get in the on-deck circle, as we say.
Well, that's up to the chairman, but I'll let him know. Sir, this gentleman does have a form with 5 signatures.
Okay, so you get 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Stephen Wetzel. I'm an Elwood Park and Manatee County resident. I have been sworn, and I'm representing Elwood Park. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. This is our second visit to the Board of Commissioners regarding the proposal by Eastwind. First slide, yes. This is the Eastwood conceptual plan from the previous visit. The new site plan has been updated, but no conceptual plan has been submitted. On the old concept, I've overlaid the new setback areas in red, an area no longer in the project in gray, a second pond in blue, and the area recovered by eliminating the commercial area in green. There are a lot of units to squeeze into the remaining space. Eastwood has made significant changes to their proposal in order to mitigate concerns. However, these mitigations don't address the fundamental issue, density. The density is too high and not compatible with the development trend of the surrounding area. According to Section C.2.3.2 of the Comprehensive Plan, to be granted an amendment, the request must demonstrate a change in circumstance or find an error, inconsistency, or oversight. Eastwind, in their justification, says a change in circumstance has occurred, that change being the completion of 44th Avenue Extension. However, the facts don't support that assertion. The county's own website for the 44th Avenue project very clearly states the facts. The project has been on the development plan since 1968. It was added to the comprehensive plan in 1989. 44th Avenue was a known quantity in 1989. Planners planned for the changes that would occur as a result. Knowing that, the 1989 comprehensive plan set the future land use of several areas of Elwood Park at Res 3 from Res 1. That includes the area along both sides of 45th Street East. That increase in the future land use code doubled out the build-out density of Elwood Park. The final build-out potential is 5 times the number of homes existing when the comprehensive plan was amended in 1989. In 2013, the 44th Avenue project was started. A new set of planners with much more current information made working plans for the project. Rights-of-way were purchased, construction was performed. There are nearly 24 signalized intersections between First Street and the current end of 44th Avenue in Lakewood Ranch. All those intersections have left turn lanes and full-sized rights-of-way on the side streets except for one. Only one exception. On that one exception, the side street was designated a connector, and it's the north side of 45th Street East that enters Elwood Park. the only exception. With all the millions of dollars spent, the right-of-way didn't even get upgraded to the two-lane road standard of 84 feet. It was left at a paltry 40 feet. And the roadway also is substandard at 20 feet wide instead of 24 feet. And there are no sidewalks. This was not a mistake. This was not an oversight. All the relevant facts in today's circumstances were known at the time the right-of-way purchases were made and when the road plan was executed. There was no oversight. It clearly shows the intent to leave Elwood Park to develop naturally as a low-density, standalone neighborhood. The capital improvement plan reinforces this. There is no future plan to upgrade any of the intersections or roads in Elwood Park, and that's as it should be. Elwood Park's roads are adequate for the needs of the neighborhood as long as we stick to the growth plan, just as the planners and commissioners have done since the Elwood Park inception in the 1920s. In addition to that, the stated community benefits of the 44th Avenue extension are shown on the project website as new road capacity, reduced traffic on 64 and 70, and an alternative road over I-75. Those are all very definitely true. But there is no mention of changing the character of existing developments along the corridor to accommodate higher densities. Certainly, there's a logical expectation that large vacant parcels will develop, but there's no expectation that the existing subdivisions will be overrun. So the argument that this proposal is a natural result of the expansion of 44th Avenue just doesn't hold water. There's no change in circumstance. From the 1989 Comprehensive Plan, the future land use for Elwood Park was set at that time with the full awareness that 44th Avenue would be extended and expanded. Things are as they should be. In other words, if you plan for an event, when that event occurs, it's not a change in circumstance. Now, if you plan for an event and that event did not happen, that would be a change in circumstance. Elwood Park is unique in Manatee County. The need to protect it from overdevelopment is greater now than ever. Available homes, lots, divisions, existing parcels are snapped up quickly in Elwood Park. Old homes are regularly being refurbished. New homes are being built. Growth is happening. Density is increasing in a steady, healthy way. A big part of what makes the steady, healthy growth continue in Elwood Park is the owner and buyer's reasonable expectation that the existing density rules for the subdivision will continue to be enforced for the benefit of the community. Because our development is over 100 years old, there are no deed restrictions to protect us. We depend on the comprehensive plan, the land development code, and the goodwill of our elected county commissioners. The uniqueness of this area cannot be recreated elsewhere in the county. Thriving 100-year-old neighborhoods can't be made. They must be allowed to grow organically as Elwood Park has for the last century. Eastwood's proposal is a good fit for many places in Manatee County. It's not a good fit for Elwood Park. That said, please don't conclude that we are advocating for no change, because we are not. We understand that 44th Avenue project will bring change to the area. It's inevitable. Density will increase. But this project proposes a density of 8.5 units per acre. That is a significant increase to Elwood Park, which currently has an actual density of 0.2 units per acre. In one fell swoop, this will increase the units in Elwood Park by 50%, from 400 units to about 600 units. The proposed amendment resulting in 8.5 dwelling units per acre is not compatible with its surroundings. Future land use density as proposed is too high. A Res 3 development, on the other hand, would be entirely fitting and compatible, but not when coupled with the Res 6. Please vote no on the request to amend the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, If I might add one more thing that I heard from the planning department's presentation. In that presentation, they had a slide which they called negative aspects, and one of the negative aspects was that the secondary access to this development was going to be limited to emergency vehicles only. I think they have that backwards. I think the negative aspect of this development is that all the traffic is going to dump onto 44th Avenue. And there's a reason why developments of over 100 units require 2 ingress and egress points. This one has 202 units, and every car is going to dump right into 44th Avenue. And if you exit the development, you have to go west. In order to enter the development, you have to go east. I think that plan is not a good plan. I think it's not good for the flow of traffic. I don't think it's safe, and quite frankly, I think it's going to be a mess. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, sir. We can done deliberation. Good morning, sir. Can you please state your name?
Yeah, hi, good morning. My name is Ryan DeCosmo. I'm a Manatee County resident. I was sworn in.
And thank you, sir, for your service.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to just state that I'm not here in an official capacity. I do not represent the views of the United States Air Force or the DoD. I'm here merely as a resident. I came from work and I'm going back to work, so I have to wear what I wear for work. I'd like to thank all you for your time. I'd like to thank the residents of my neighbors for giving me the opportunity to represent them up here today, and John Rashid specifically for providing some of the data in this presentation. I'd like also to thank Steve. Though we disagree professionally on this matter, he's been a consummate professional, and he was a good guy to work with. I wish him all the best of luck in the future, just not here today. Next slide. Oh, I've got never mind. I'm used to somebody else steering for me. So my agenda today, I'm going to give you a bottom line up front. It's a standard thing when I'm briefing superiors or people that I want to get a succinct message that might not be able to stick around or absorb everything I'm trying to tell them. We're going to go over some regional residential growth on 44th Avenue, residential density comparisons, looking at that in terms of future land use, and sum up with a conclusion. Specifically, this is going to address the statement that this is a reasonable transition that is compatible and consistent with the current development in the area. So the bottom line up front is that the villas at Elwood Park is the wrong development for this neighborhood. It would be an anomalous outgrowth that represents a residential density inconsistent with the surrounding areas. So what exactly is the picture of development along 44th Avenue? Here we have the original plat from 1915. This is over 100 years old. I thought it was just like a nice little piece of history I'd throw you guys' way. The developer's rationale that this fits is not accurate. When we look at the actual map of what 44th Avenue looks like, going from the highway all the way to 301, we see that it is a conglomerate of single-family homes and deed-restricted communities. There is no high-density residential rental communities. There are no high-density locations. So what does residential density mean? That picture there is what I like. That's residential density to me. A bunch of people all getting together. Looking at it from terms of the future land use map, we can see that there's Res 1, Res 3. A lot of this has already been talked about. I won't harp on it. But some of the things I wanted to point out were the Res 6 areas that were used as justification, as well as some of the other Res 6 areas going down 44th Avenue on their way to 301. Highlighted in blue here are all the current completed or approved developments. These developments are not going to change in the future. They are what they are. Regardless of what the future land use plan says about their density is fixed at this point. Also highlighted there is the boundary of the urban core, where the county has determined that this is the area in which we want to focus higher density development. When looking at the actual density of these areas, we can see that they have all uniformly underdeveloped for their approved future land use. The node at the southwest corner of 45th and 44th, where they're saying is Res 6 and is their justification, is actually at 3 units per acre and 1.9 units per acre when you look at the number of houses for the number of acreages. Going down 44th Avenue, all the other proposed developments are lower than 3 units per acre, with one notable exception, that 8.6. And that's the new townhouses that are going on that border a U.S. highway and are segregated from the surrounding neighborhoods. They are not infill to those neighborhoods. When looking at this from a residential density breakdown in a tabular form, I'm an engineer, I like numbers, you could see that there is one anomaly here, and that is the villas at Elwood Park. Every other development along 44th Avenue, which is a residential corridor, not a high-density corridor, has developed at lower rates than what they were permitted, and that was the natural way to grow that area. Unlike the other developments in neighborhoods in the area, Elwood Park is not protected by deed restrictions. These already existing developments have protections in place. Elwood Park doesn't. Elwood Park relies on the future land use plan so that their residents can make decisions about what they're doing, where they're purchasing land, where they want their family to live, and what their long-term financial investments are going to be. I was one of those people. I have an hour commute to work, but I chose that hour because of what Elwood Park was. In conclusion, I gave you the bottom line up front, that this is an incompatible development for this area. I talked about what 44th Avenue actually looks like, which is a tract of single-family homes and deed-restricted, owner-owned developments. We looked at residential density comparisons to see that even though there are areas that are zoned at higher residential densities, they are not developed to those levels. So a development of 8.5 units per acre would be anomalous and would be out of character for that area. And we looked at what the actual future land use means for the residents, that this is what we use for our decision-making for the future. We don't have those deed restrictions. So in conclusion, the villas at Elwood Park are an incongruous development for this area, and you should vote no on this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all your information.
You want this?
Yes, sir. She'll need that. Thank you. No worries. All right, who's up next? Please state your name, county residence, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Heather Johnston. I am a resident of Manatee County, and I have been sworn. 3 years ago, I purchased 2 acres on 44th Avenue in Elwood Park, zoned A1, agricultural, because it is some of the only property available west of the 75 that allowed farming. We now have horses, cows, honeybees, and fruit trees. It is a small piece of heaven in a very busy growing area. The shortage of agricultural land left in Manatee County is concerning. After we purchased our land, then we decided on our residence in nearby Peridia, just across 44th Avenue on the southwest corner. I have an 11-year-old daughter. My daughter and I ride horses on our property. We walk from Peridia to Elwood Park regularly. Currently, we could ride down 45th Avenue, and I feel safe for my daughter to be on the road, but I am worried that that will change as traffic and construction commences. In regards to the access on the 45th Street proposed to be only emergency access, I don't think that's actually going to happen in practice. There is an existing emergency access gate inside of Peridia. It is supposed to be restricted. However, garbage trucks, Uber drivers, Amazon, FedEx, and anyone with a universal clicker can use the emergency access. They can try to restrict vehicular access, but it doesn't actually work. I am concerned about the proposed density change to R6. Elwood Park is a rural historical community, and the residents want to keep the existing character of the community. While Peridia technically shows a higher allowable density of R6, the communities are already completely built out with a lower density of single-family homes. I understand progress and the increased need for housing in our county. I work for both D.R. Horton and Pulte Homes. I'm very familiar with development and construction issues, including noise pollution, traffic, loss of trees, blowing garbage, and the list goes on. I respectfully ask that you reconsider the proposed density change. The proposed density of the development is not in line with the character of the Elwood Park community and the surrounding existing communities. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, please state your name, county residents, and you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kay Kearns. I'm a resident of Manatee County, and I have been sworn. I have serious stage fright, but I'm finally speaking because this is very important to me. My property is at 3807 45th Street East with my entire south property line on the border of this proposed development. A little bit about me and what my property means to me. My family could never afford horses growing up, so I dreamed the big dream of getting my own horses and building my dream barn. When I was 16, I got my first job at a barn just to pay for riding lessons. When I was 18, I bought my own horse and trained her myself from a baby, and I still have her. I would always make models of my dream barn that I was going to build someday, and 3 years ago that dream finally came true with blood, sweat, and tears. My barn is the exact model that I would build out of cardboard and popsicle sticks. Now my dream is turning into reality. The proposed development at my south property line will ruin the business that I work hard to build. The horses can be very dangerous to people and other animals when they get scared, and will do anything and everything to get away from it, as in running through fences, running people over, kicking or hurting other horses, or even injuring themselves just to get away. Horses spook at loud noises, flying debris, and even things just as small as plastic bags or water bottles blowing in the wind. I have been run over and hurt by many horses that have spooked. If this proposed development goes through, then I have every scary thing known to horses to be 50 feet from where they eat and sleep in the barn. My responsibility to these horses and their owners is to keep them safe and happy. This is their home where they live every day. And, I have older boarders that just want to ride their horses in peace and young kids taking riding lessons. With the proposed development next door, riders may be at major risk of injury or even death during the construction. Many of my boarders will not stay with that kind of danger to themselves or their horses, and my business will be ruined, as well as my horses will be terrified. So if you approve this development, then that dream of the little girl she worked her whole life for will go up in flames, for there is no recovery losing my business's income. So please help me save my dream. Please say no to this development. Thank you, and I'm sorry for the shaky.
You did a great job. Thank you. Good job. Next up, please state your name, county residence, and you've been sworn.
My name is Arlene Kearns. I live in Manatee County. I've been sworn.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. When our family was looking to buy land for our boarding stables, we definitely focused on Elwood Park because we wanted to be in town and we needed agricultural zoning for the animals. We found a 10-acre parcel that used to be an oak tree farm. Many of you might know Cash Nursery. The property was set in the middle of the block and it was surrounded by rural A1 properties. It was perfect. Many years, much money, and a lot of hard work later, we have made our dream a reality. It's a very peaceful, relaxed country atmosphere, and it's still in town, not an hour drive away, so our boarders actually love that. I am concerned for our business with this proposed high-density development. I'm concerned for our way of life and for the safety of our boarders and their animals, both during and after construction. After all, half of our property shares a border with the proposed development, so of course I'm concerned. And to Stephen Novacki's credit, he has done what he can try to do to alleviate these concerns, and I genuinely appreciate what he has done. But there is only so much he can do because, to be honest, the development and Elwood Park are worlds apart, and so they should be. My job here today is do what's best for our boarders and our business. Your job is to do what's best for Manatee County. With that being said, I would ask for you, please vote for what is best, not only for Manatee County, but especially for Elwood Park. Elwood Park is what all of Manatee County was made of in the past, and we are slowly losing it all. And I do have one question for Stephen Novacki. In a presentation, they said there was a 2-acre pond. Stephen had told us it was a 4-acre pond. So I wanted to see if they could answer that before the day's through.
Yes, ma'am. They'll answer that in a rebuttal.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up. State your
Good
name.
morning. Hi, I'm Ryan McLaughlin, Manatee County, and I've been sworn in.
Thank you, sir.
I live literally on the corner of 44th Avenue and 45th Street East. Basically have a front row seat to the intersection. Since a new bridge opened on 44th Ave, we've had a significant increase in traffic in the area. With this increased traffic comes obnoxious exhausts, honking horns, and people doing donuts in the middle of the intersection at all hours of the night. We have already noticed a disturbance in the children's sleeping patterns due to this noise. We've also had difficult time exiting our driveway in the morning due to the traffic that builds up past our house. That being said, I find it hard to believe that an extra 300 to 400 vehicles from this new development will not be a burden in the immediate area, especially when the overpass over I-75 opens up and a wave of vehicles flood the area from Lakewood Ranch and beyond. I recently emailed the county to see if there was something they could provide to dampen the noise, but was told that they do not install noise barriers. Not only are we next to the intersection, but now we'll have an approximate 202 units to look at behind me. They only dropped the density by 18 units. They only came up with that because we backed out of the contract. They told us 190 units when they asked us to lower our selling price after you voted 6-1 to deny them when you denied them the first time. As for the 25% affordable housing part of the project, that's only being done for incentives. What exactly is the cost of the so-called affordable housing? Is it really affordable? Because nothing these days is. People keep stating that the project will benefit the area. These people won't be living here a year from now when dealing with the construction and all the noise and filth that comes with it. In the beginning, my two neighbors complained that they would be living within a fishbowl. Well, now that fishbowl includes my house. I have included, well, I was going to show some slides, but some of the other fellas did. But just wanted to emphasize that, Elwood Park has, roughly 400 houses, but this will definitely increase it by 50%. In conclusion, my family and I hope that you will keep Elwood Park free of any high-density developments. It was said during the last meeting that this is not the time nor the place for this. This will ruin what little bit of country we have in the area this side of the interstate. For the record, regardless of any of the changes that they made, no one here wants this project to go through. Please vote no. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. As we kind of know the rules.
Good morning. My name is John Taylor. I'm a Manatee County resident, and I have been sworn. Please, Commissioners, ask how much these apartments will cost. We don't know. Braden Point up the road has units for sale with a mortgage payment of $2,300 a month, and that's with a 7.5% interest rate. And in a few years, we all know that that can be refinanced and get under $2,000 a month. And those units are not selling fast. If $2,000 a month is not appealing, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Clearly, $2,000 a month is not an appealing number in our area. Furthermore, with no site plan, which units are the affordable housing units? And I need to correct this because I saw in the presentation that it said workforce housing, and we all know, and we can have staff clarify, but workforce housing is not affordable housing. There is a major difference there. My employees need housing, but they have families. So are we looking at 1-1s or 3-2s for affordable housing? What will that rental price be? If it's not under $2,000 a month, this is a waste because we already have that availability to own, and that community isn't even 50% built out. The question of price is paramount. Really quickly, Google on your phones. Search, what is the median income for zip code 34208? That's Elwood Park. If the rent on these luxury apartments isn't under $2,000 a month, we're not supporting residents in the heart of Manatee County because the average income is under $56,000 a year, which is less than the Manatee County average income of just under $72,000 a year. I'm sure you all saw the Lorraine Road Crossing West project earlier. That project was a great fit. It abutted similar housing. It wasn't down the road from, across the street from, it was adjoining. Were this project adjoining Braden Point or on 301 where there is still pasture land, I'm sure that they're sending letters to try and buy it, it would be a better fit. because it would join the boundary line. I want all of our Elwood Park neighbors to find the right development. I want them to find a developer who's going to build a Res 3 development that is comprehensive and matches what fits for Elwood Park so they can get top dollar and don't put a burden on our roadways. I already mentioned the fact that I saw workforce, not affordable housing. I want to bring up the amenities aspect. This county is investing how much money in John Marble Park? We don't need a rowing machine in a random building down the road that only those residents can use. I want to close with perspective. If the fire marshal puts a limit on how many people can be in this room, if we added bigger doors and a big patio outside, it doesn't mean you can fit more people in the building. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I vote no.
Thank you.
Thank you. She has 5 signatures, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Danielle Taylor, and I'm a resident of Manatee County, and I've been sworn in.
Yes, ma'am, you have 10 minutes.
Yes, sir. Y'all, we've been down this road before. Although on paper this may sound like a better development, the facts haven't changed. This new project has reduced the number of acres by removing the commercial piece, but the density intensity has stayed basically the same. A reduction to 8.5 units per acre is not what I would consider compatible to the surrounding communities. These communities, as others have said, are HOA restricted and built out. 1 out of 11 of these communities show Res 9, and it's on a highway, not what I would consider a detectable trend as required. You can dress up this project all you want, but at the end of the day, we are still looking at an intensity of basically Res 9. A density this high is where infill should occur, which is within the urban corridor as it was designed. There are 3 projects that are Res 9 intensity. 2 of them are within the urban corridor, and 1 abuts it, which is Braden Point that people have brought up. The proposed development holds the same issue it did when this board voted it down the last time it was presented. Density increases to Res 6 on the north side of 44th don't fit the comp plan, the future land use, or the criteria for zoning map amendments. When looking at the current listings of road use, 45th Street is listed as a 2-lane collector road, and on the 2045 future road map, it's still listed as a 2-lane collector road. There was no intention in 1999, and clearly given the lack of infrastructure being allowed to the future of this roadway, there is no expectation of this area being anything more than Ag or Res 3 at the maximum. As well, we look at these current county and future road uses, it is clear that 45th Street north of 44th is not part of this activity node, but has clearly been left out of this intersection. To assume residents of the proposed development will not use 45th because the exit leads onto 44th is absurd. I think everyone knows what assume actually stands for. The standard American household has just over 2 cars on average per family. This proposal asks for just over 200 units, which allows us to effectively say that they will bring a minimum of 400 cars entering and exiting this location on a daily basis. From previous surveys of residents in Elwood Park, we know that around 500 vehicles are in the current Elwood Park. This single development would nearly double the trips per day for our area. A trip count was actually not performed on 45th Street to go to 26. It would seem we would be assuming residents simply won't use that road, which we know that's not the case. This development team keeps talking about how much money Manatee County has invested into 44th. I would like to remind everyone the purpose of 44th. Ranch to beach. Remember? This road is intended to alleviate 64 and 70 traffic while motoring from East Manatee County to West or vice versa. And we can look at the headlines. This is a road from beach to Lakewood Ranch. Reduces traffic demands on parallel thoroughfares. Reduced traffic from Bradenton to Lakewood Ranch. It's going to be an amazing reliever for all of Manatee County, said Jason Bearden, our commissioner. The new 44th road is going to take some of the pressure, some of the traffic off of State Route 64 and 70. giving people a new way to get from Lakewood Ranch to Anna Maria Island, a spokesperson for Manatee County. A resident said, I know we get stuck in traffic on 45th trying to get to 70. 70 is always backed up. It's really going to help my district because it will give us a thoroughfare between the two other thoroughfares, said District 5 Commissioner Ray Turner. This is going to give a lot of relief east to west. If residents are coming from the beach, they would have to do an unsafe U-turn into traffic to get to the development, and vice versa. This is due to there only being an entrance and exit on 44th because 45th cannot and should not handle this volume in traffic. This ask for Res 6 is contradictory to the point of 44th, which is to flow traffic from Lakewood Ranch to the beach and vice versa. Consider again, there are 500 cars in Elwood Park, and you're going to double that by this one development. The purpose of 44th is to alleviate traffic, not to add a congestion point. Another huge concern I have is the general development plan. By approving this general development plan, the green light will be given to our developers to begin their process. Notice something missing today? The site plan. At the end of the day, the development team can talk the talk, but the fact that there is no site plan leads me to believe that these accommodations are just to appease our neighbors and to appease the board. But if it gets passed, the general development plan can easily change and not include any accommodations mentioned today. If approved, only county staff will have to approve the site plan, and you as the board and us as the community will have no input on further decisions. And as a business partner, or business person, and I know all of y'all are, if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. My last point here is all too often we hear why development should be approved. Diversity of housing. The moment that we realize that A1, suburban agriculture, is a form of diverse housing is when it's going to be too late. Our Florida Commissioner of Agriculture has said himself, we can think about oil as a national security. We have strategic supplies all over the country just in case there's a major war in the Middle East or there's a major disruption somewhere in the world of those oil supplies. Imagine 1 week with no food in the grocery store, 7 days. You'd have total chaos in this country. Imagine 30. You'd have people starving to death. So when I think about agriculture, that's the lens I think through. So you've seen all these glimpses of this before. A big hurricane comes, COVID, grocery stores are empty. Don't the citizens of Manatee County deserve a diverse housing option that allows them to avoid this crisis if it occurs? Res 3, or better yet, A1 lots would still have that privilege of homesteading, growing their own food, and ensuring their food security, all while living west of the interstate. This board has spent time and attention to ensure the residents of Manatee County can keep chickens, pot-bellied pigs, and in most recent effort, opportunities to garden. This most recent effort to ensure residents of Manatee County can become educated in gardening to help alleviate food deserts only comes to fulfillment if there is a home they can go to and grow something, housing that supports those opportunities. Isn't the American dream? Remember Victory Gardens? These lots north of 44th are special and have always been looked after and intentionally designed to not be developed beyond residential 3. Believe me when I say in agreement with our state agricultural commissioner that a food shortage crisis is our biggest vulnerability point in Florida. Keeping portions of land development diversity that encourages homesteading is not only smart, but knows the BOCC community plans. Consider how few homes can truly homestead. As perspective, this one development would nearly match all of Elwood Park's homesteading density. Look at what's happening in East Manatee County with development and the huge neighborhoods going on in previously worked farmland. Don't you want to know you have several homes in your county who know how to and are able to keep themselves and others fed? This Res 3 future land use designation is not arbitrary. The road's continued low development is no coincidence. The need for a board of commissioners is absolutely necessary to make a huge, impactful change to this area. This 44th road frontage can be used in other ways that do not require a zoning change. It will not discourage homesteaders to abandon their homesteading lands due to the excess of this proposed development spilling into and overrunning their community, which we already know cannot handle the increased density. In conclusion, in fact, the Villas of Elwood Park is asking for roughly the same density at 8.5 units per acre on a lower amount of acreage than previously presented is a huge red flag. It is not compatible with our surrounding communities, as only one of 13 in the surrounding areas are that high of density, and it abuts the urban core where Res 9 infill is accepted. 45th is an inadequate road that was not included in the 44th redesign because the area was designated for Res 3. 44th is meant to alleviate traffic from 64 and 70 to provide current residents with ranch to beach access, not adding more traffic. Finally, diversity of housing is an issue that is undervalued and goes unnoticed. With an ever-changing world, food security is a real issue, and the ability for residents to homestead and protect their families from a crisis is paramount. I urge you to deny this comprehensive plan amendment and rezone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's a teacher in me.
Well, we can tell you're a teacher. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak on this matter? Okay. We don't want to wrestle for it, so somebody's going to go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sir. Please state your name, county residence, and you've been sworn.
My name is Jim Parks. I'm a lifetime resident of Manatee County. I was born and raised here. I became aware of Elwood Park as a community.
So you've been sworn, correct?
Huh?
You've been sworn in, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I made it on time this week. Anyway, I became Elwood Park and familiar with it when I was pumping gas in Samoset. A lot of people don't know where Samoset is, but I started my working career in Samoset. And the people that lived in Elwood Park, there was 2 chicken farms. The Williams had a strawberry farm out there. Very agriculture. It was intended to be agriculture. It's still agriculture. There's a Jim Park subdivision in Elwood Park. And guess what? It's A1. So maybe I'm a developer. I don't know. I didn't start out to be that way. But I did that for my family and my grandchildren. This is not right, guys. I'm standing here telling you that, and you know it. It's too dense. It's not compatible. I could go on and on and on and on, but the bottom line is it needs to be denied. And like I said, I ain't gonna, you guys, I wouldn't be sitting in your chair for nothing in the world, because there's gonna be a winner and there's gonna be a loser. And I want to be on the winning side, because I know what, I mean, it's been said. There's no sense in saying anything else. Vote your conscience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just to let everyone know, right after public comment, we will be taking a 10-minute break for staff and everyone else. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Debbie Brin. I'm a Manatee County resident, and I've been sworn in.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have lived at 4609 44th Avenue East on the southern edge of Elwood Park. I've lived there for over 50 years and have seen plenty of change. When we first bought the property and moved and built our home there, our property was a quiet place where you were lucky to see 10 cars drive by a day. Our piece of the property is now in a major thoroughfare, that is driven by thousands of vehicles daily, where coming and going from our home most days is quite a challenge. You have to turn right to leave and make U-turns coming and going. This isn't how my husband and I envisioned our retired life. Our property that was suited for raising and living with our family is now geared more for a planned community where people would live and travel to and from their work. I understand that the people of Elwood Park are against having such a community built here, but what they have to realize is they don't live on it. Some don't even live near it or even have to contend with this road on a daily basis. They don't have to hear cars honking their horns, racing up and down the road, or playing loud music any hour of the day or night like we have to hear. This isn't a fully completed highway yet, and when it's fully open, I can't even imagine how it will be not only to live on it, but leaving and coming home will be. I hope that you, the Board of County Commissioners, take into account how not only what it's like for us to live on this property, which we do love, but also how this community would help Manatee County as a whole. Please vote yes on this project.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jim Bren. I live on one of the pieces that are being rezoned. I have been sworn. I've been a Manatee County resident all my life. That was my wife before you. Like I said, I just retired. In my retirement, I never perceived this. I agree that people are changing their lives all the time. I look at in my time here as being, there was no Lakewood Ranch. There was no Fairfax, Peridia, any of that here. Times have changed and it's drastic now. Mr. Cruz, you said about affordable housing for Lakewood Ranch. I worked on the other side of Lakewood Ranch from my house. That's only 20 minutes away. This affordable housing here will help that community out there too, and in the whole community. I just want to move on with my life in my retirement, and I hope you approve this thing so I can do that. And I believe in the past, what we perceived was going to be there is not there anymore. And I can contest to that more than anybody in here. Please vote yes on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello, my name is Abigail LaRoche. I live in Manatee County, and I have been sworn. I live right beside the proposed development with my siblings, parents, and animals. I can also hear the loud cars and music from where I live down the road. Many times I have had to ride or walk down 45th Street and have witnessed it is in no way compatible with the proposed development. Density and traffic will increase. And for the reasons before me, I ask you to please vote no today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, seeing that no one else is coming forward, what we're going to do is we're going to recess. I can't hardly see the clock. We're going to recess for 10 minutes. So we'll be back here at 10:47. Thank you very much. We're in recess. Thank you. We're back from recess. What we're going to do now is we're going to move to the commission's questions for applicant and staff. I have Commissioner Ballard is.
I don't have anything for this. I'm just on for delivery.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions of staff or of the applicant? Everybody good? Okay. Here we go. Staff closing comments?
Denise Greer for staff. I do have a clarification that I would like the applicant to make regarding the sidewalk on 45th.
Denise, have you been sworn?
I'm Denise Greer with staff. I have been sworn.
Thank you, ma'am. and you know the rules.
I just don't follow them.
You know that.
If they could explain the sidewalk on 45th, they did say that at least I thought I heard them say in their presentation that they were going to install it all the way from their north property line, but the way that it's shown on the plan, it's outside of the right-of-way, and they don't control all the properties on 45th, so I would just like to make sure that they're not expecting the county to obtain right-of-way or an easement for them to build that right-of-way.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that staff's code? Charles, you have anything?
Good morning, Commissioner. Charles Andrews with staff. I have been sworn. So just regarding a few comments that were made. So when the comp plan was originally established in 1989, obviously the county looked very different. Fast forward 35 years later, we have roads being expanded and whatnot. So that vision does change from time to time and in certain areas. So just wanted to bring that to light. So seeing how different areas of the county have developed 35 years ago, it's a different picture. And then one other item, and maybe the applicant can speak to this, is that the secondary means of access, it was my understanding that it was a concern to residents regarding the traffic. If it was a full means onto 45th Street East there, that was a concern with all the traffic and whatnot. So that's why it was reduced or changed to a emergency access only. So that was one thing that came up last year at the hearing. So just those two items.
Charles, I got one quick question.
Yes, sir.
With the secondary access as emergency access, one of the residents brought up that Uber drivers, pizza guys, Amazon, whoever comes in and out of that. Is it not a requirement of ours that through the clicker system that we only allow for, if that's going to be a designated emergency access, we only allow emergency vehicles to go through that, correct?
That would be correct, right? Uber is not an emergency. So.
Okay. So the Amazon driver can't get through there, nothing like that?
No, sir.
Okay. I know, because we have some concerns in some other neighborhoods about that too. So, all right. Thank you very much. Is there any other questions for staff? Seeing none? Applicant rebuttal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm Scott Rudisil for the record. First of all, I just want to thank the folks in Elwood Park for coming out again. They stayed their position very well. We, of course, understand it, and they were very respectful. They did a nice job with it, as they have at all the hearings that we've had. We think we have, we've worked really hard, and we think we've made a lot of progress in terms of this site plan for this project. But after hearing the additional comments today, we would like another opportunity to go back and look at this plan one more time. And so at this point, we'd like to ask for a continuance of this to no date certain, to give us a chance to work on this project some more.
Is there a motion that's to be made to?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we would need a motion each one.
Okay. So we need a motion on a continuance on the comp plan and then a motion on the continuance for the rezone.
Yeah, I could read it if you're ready.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, well.
Ready.
George, ready?
Ready. If she wants to read it, unless I'm ready to make the motion, unless we want to go through all this continued comment.
If we're going to continue, is everybody okay coming off the board if we're going to do a continuance?
I feel like we're just going to keep chipping away and then trying again, chipping away and trying again. And people are going to keep coming out here. And granted, you guys are getting your money's worth on those shirts. But, Next time it's going to be slightly less, it's going to be 7 units per acre, and then if that doesn't go, 6 units. I mean, at some point there needs to be a meaningful dialogue about what is going to be approved here, because otherwise that's what we're going to keep doing. Is every couple months we're going to have them come back slightly different and see what happens, and you're going to keep trial and trial until people stop showing up. And when people stop showing up, then it's going to cram through because no one's going to be here for a couple hours. So I'll just let you know, because if you're going to, I'm sure it'll be continued. We're as practice do that, but I think it's important for you to have a frame of idea of what would be approved in my mind, because that'll help you go forward. This is allowable without density bonus of 42 units total. That's 1.8. I believe that's actually a pretty close transition from the R1 to the R6. With the affordable housing, which I'm fully in favor of affordable housing, everybody knows that. With the affordable housing density, that gets you up to 72. That's 3 units per acre. That's literally what should be on this site right now. That's going from ag to R1 to R3 to the R6, which isn't even R6. That's how transitions work. That's pretty much what I'm comfortable on this site. You can come back tomorrow, you can come back 6 months from now. Nothing's going to change in my mind. So just giving you an idea when you come back, so we don't have to do this 6 more times, that's where I start and stop in my thoughts on this project.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Ballard?
Yeah, just briefly, my feelings about the density and the level of density that would be compatible with this site and the surrounding area is very similar to Commissioner Cruz. And that's all.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll comment if you'll allow.
Yes, sir.
And I'll just sort of echo what Commissioner Ballard said. I have a lot of respect for you all for coming out here every time, and I admire that you do. I've heard you twice. You hear my position. I've voted no once. I would be voting no again today. But I do feel the applicant has a right to a continuance. But just to put yourself at ease, if you don't show up in these same numbers the next time, it's not going to make a difference in my position. I'm pretty much, I am where I am. Agreed. So just to put your own selves at ease and, you know.
All right. Madam Attorney, do you want to go ahead and read the motion in?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I had 2 comments. One was that all the testimony heard thus far, Planning Commission Board, we would incorporate into the next public hearing record.
Okay.
So if someone couldn't comments already in the record. And secondly, the board doesn't have to grant continuance every time, but this is only the first request at this level.
Yes, ma'am.
So it appears reasonable. If it looked like the request for continuance were being abused by repeatedly asking for continuances, you could deny it. But at this point, I recommend you go with the
Okay.
one
All right,
request.
thank you. All right, so what we're going to do is, Madam Attorney, you want to read the motion in for number 4?
So 4 is a comprehensive plan amendment. It'd be, I move to continue the public hearing on PA 2324, ordinance 2408, to no date certain and re-advertise.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Second. Okay, I got a motion by Commissioner Van Ossenbridge, a second by Commissioner Bearden. All those we'll just do a verbal vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed? None. The motion carried for the continuance on item number 4, 6-0. All right, Madam Attorney?
Okay, then we have item 5. I move to continue the public hearing on rezone application PDR 2353ZG, Billows Elwood Park, and John Devon plan application to no date certain and re-advertise.
So moved.
All right, again, moved by Commissioner Van Ossenbridge, seconded by Commissioner Bearden. Oh, it's on the board. Okay, so if everyone could cast their votes now. The motion carries 6-0 for the continuance on item number 5 to no time certain. All right, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming out today. We appreciate all y'all coming out. Thank you. All right, what we'll do is, if everyone can kind of leave the room quietly, we still have a hearing going on. Yeah. All right. All right, folks. If we could move quietly, it would be appreciated.
This area off of.
Thank you.
We went through the same thing.
Okay, nobody's moving quietly. All right.
It's not maybe
Yeah,
green.
we'll hang out for a minute.
Something green.
I know. Our 7th Commissioner, Barrett Ballard's the most quietest one.
don't bang the gavel, you better wake 'em up.
I'm not going to bang the gavel. I don't want baby screaming at me. Okay, let's move forward. All right, we're going to move forward on our presentations upon request. Ms. Knapp, then the first one we're really happy about, and I know we all worked very hard with, in obtaining this property, but we're very happy about this. So, Ms. Knapp, can you read number 6 into the record, please?
Item number 6 is Plan Amendment 2401, Ordinance 2424, Crooked River Preserve. This is transmittal of a county-initiated large-scale map amendment to the future land use map, future land use series element 2, to designate a specific real property generally located at 10425 25th Street East from Urban Fringe 3 to Conservation, approximately 68 acres, and retaining the public, semi-public 1 future land use classification. And staff presenter, should you need one, is Charles Andrews.
All right, I don't think any of us need a presentation on this. I will open the item for public comment. See nobody really out there. I'll close public comment, and I'll look for a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Turner, a second by Commissioner Bearden. If everyone could please cast their votes now. And the motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Ms. Knapp, can you read number 7?
Item number
into the record, please.
Item number 7 is PDMU 2325P Airport Commerce Park. This is a preliminary site plan for a 20,375 square foot light industrial warehouse facility on 1.75 acres. Site currently zoned planned development, mixed use, airport impact. The property is generally located at the southeast corner of Whitfield Avenue and 15th Street East, commonly known as 6907 15th Street East. And your staff presenter, should you need one, is Chris Claypack.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Would anybody like a presentation on this?
No.
Seeing none, I'm going to open up for public comment. Seeing we don't need any there's no public comment, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Sorry, I've been to ask, is there been an ex parte on this?
No.
Seeing none, close public comment. I have a motion by Commissioner Cruz and a second by Commissioner Ballard. Everyone could cast their votes now. And the motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Ms. Knapp, number 8.
Item number 8, PDMU 2314ZG, Woody's River Roo Pub and Grill. This is a rezone of approximately 1.26 acres from Agricultural Suburban Coastal Planning Overlay District and Agricultural Suburban Coastal Planning Area and Coastal High Hazard District to Plan Development Mixed Use, retaining the Coastal Planning Area and Coastal High Hazard Overlay Districts, and approving a general development plan to include an existing 1.1 acre eating and drinking establishment and associated infrastructure, and 1.25 acres for additional parking facilities. The site is generally located at the southeast corner of I-75 and 18th Street East and north of the Manatee River. And your staff presenter, should you need one, is Ms. Rosina Leiter.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there any ex parte on this issue? No. Okay, I'll open it for public comment, and I know we all love us some Woody's River Roo, and I'm glad they're getting more parking. So being that there's no public comment, I'll close public comment. I have a motion by Commissioner Turner, a second by Commissioner Cruz. If everyone could cast their votes now. And the motion carries 6-0. Well, I time myself out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving forward, is there, Madam Attorney, you have any comments?
No comments.
Ms. Knapp, do you have anything else for moving forward?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Any commissioner comments? Moving forward? All right, right now I'll call and we're adjourned.